Hello lads, and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to talk about what to do if you are nervous about driving, you're scared of driving, even if you've been driving a while, or you're new to driving, you're looking at taking your test, any range of the level that you're at or experience you're at. People can be scared of driving for several reasons really. It can be just an innate fear, it can be because they've had a bad experience, a crash, maybe they failed the test a few times. It's perfectly natural, and we're going to go over a few ways to try and get over that and make that easier for you. One of the things I remember being really anxious for was taking my test originally. That was horrendous, and I know most people, if not all, experience some level of anxiety before tests, and sometimes that even carries through when they've passed and they're getting in their car and just driving normally too. Men or women too, it's no shame in if you're afraid of driving. I think there's probably more stigma in like men being afraid of driving, just because it's like a macho thing. You've got to be like good at driving if you're a dude. So, but hey, if you're a dude and you're scared of it, don't worry. I had to move because there was a dude who just parked up next to me and was like staring me down the barrel as I was filming. So the best thing you can do really is start from the bottom up and work out what's scaring you about driving. Is it your own ability? Is it driving at speed? Is it other drivers? Is it like a crash from previous experiences and things like that? Once you kind of work out what it is that scares you about driving, you can work out how to fix that. For example, if it's your own ability and you feel like you're not quite sure of the road rules and things like that, then you can get professional instruction. Don't worry about taking instruction from professionals if you've passed your test, because some people think that if they've passed their test, then it would look weird if they went and, got an instructor to sit in with them. Don't worry about that. There's plenty of courses. There's like refresher courses to bring you up to date. There's all sorts of things professionally that you can go and get, including intensive courses, which I'd really recommend for like 2, 3 or 4 days, even a week, just to bring you up to speed and make you more comfortable behind the wheel. And it's really, even if it costs you a couple £100 for like a few lessons, it's worth it if it makes your driving safer and makes you happier in the long run. So starting at a really basic level, don't forget things like breathing. When really tense situations come into driving, you can forget to breathe sometimes. It sounds really strange, but you'll kind of hyperventilate and do really shallow breathing. And of course that brings your heart rate up, that makes you more panicky, and it makes you more prone to doing silly stuff. So keep it with deep breathing, slow your breathing down, and do your classic yoga, deep breath stuff. And this will help you in the long run. Focus on what you need to do to stay safe whilst you're driving as well. If there's someone tailgating you, or you've gotten something wrong, you made a mistake, don't worry about it. Just pick yourself up and carry on. Learn from it if you can. Just focus on your driving. Focus on staying safe to your own ability. And if someone is peer pressuring you to do things you don't want to do, just keep in mind that it's your car and you decide what to do, especially if there's someone right up your back bumper whilst you're driving trying to get you to go faster as well, because if you crash, it's still your fault if it goes wrong. So especially if there's people tailgating you or pressuring you to go faster, don't be afraid to take breaks, pull over to the side of the road in a safe place. Don't do something stupid like just stop on a motorway, but stop at a coffee shop, have a coffee, take a break, have a drink, and just spend 5 minutes and calm yourself down. It's a good time for a coffee and a Mackey's. It's always a good time for Mackey's. One of the biggest things with people who are sort of anxious and scared about driving is they'll stop driving because they don't like it that much, or they'll sort of just give up for a bit and then come back to it. And when they come back to it, they'll find that they don't like it even more because they're now out of practice, as well as being scared of it. So one thing you need to do is keep practicing. Again, get in with an instructor if you're really nervous, and they'll tell you exactly what you need to do to improve the different bits you might be getting wrong. Keep at it. If you stop and come back, then you're going to be worse. So keep that consistent practice. Once a week isn't really enough to practice, especially before your test and even when you're driving normally, if you want to get better. So you need at least 3 or 4 times a week to get out there in a car, even for like half an hour at a time, and just try and improve as much as you can that way. That's the same with any skill or any talent, really. Even consider taking advanced driving lessons like a skid pan session or an advanced driving course as well, because feeling more in control of your car and actually being more in control of your car is going to make you much more comfortable. It's going to make you happier, and you'll feel good knowing that you know what to do in emergency situations, which is better than 90% of the other drivers on the road, trust me. And I think that's where a lot of anxiety stems from, where people don't think they actually know how to drive, like control a car on the limit, shall we say, and in emergency situations. One thing I'd say as well is, if you're worried about other drivers and fraudulent insurance and hit and runs, that sort of thing, get yourself a dash cam. Places like Halfords can wire them in for you, so they just turn on with the car and things like that. And just make sure that's set up, so if anyone's trying to do something stupid in front of you, 90% of situations get nulled by pointing to a dash cam, because people don't want to do stupid stuff if they're being recorded most of the time. I know some people break that rule, but 90% of the time you'll find people will calm down a bit if they realize they're on camera. Their mistakes are going to be up on the internet for everyone to see, that sort of thing. It also brings down your insurance a little bit these days as well. A lot of insurance companies, it's up to 20% for some companies, that they'll bring your price down by. So it's worth it in general, and just for peace of mind. If you're nervous in the first place, don't put yourself in more dangerous situations than you have to. All you can do is make sure that you're keeping to the speed limit, making sure you're keeping a safe distance from the cars in front of you, checking your mirrors properly, shoulder checking when you do lane changes, and keeping your car up to date with the best tyres and fluids and things like that. You know that you're being as safe as possible. And if you've got that mindset of trying to be as safe as possible, then that quells some of the fears of feeling out of control as well. Distractions play a big part when it comes to feeling a little bit out of control and scared whilst driving, especially these days where you've got all these big infotainment screens in the center of the dash. You've got sat navs, you've got, you know, or just having people in the car with you, because filling your car up with people who are, you know, talking really loudly, it's fine, but it can get too much to a point. And especially if you're new to driving and you're a little bit nervous with driving, then it can get quite difficult. So try and keep distractions to a minimum, and you can sort of add more people into your car and not worry so much about distractions as you get better. But when you're starting out, you want to keep those as low as possible. I found a big part of driving worries, and it's a fairly unspoken part, is that of backseat drivers. Some people, when they're in the car with you, are horrendous for like almost grabbing the steering wheel. They're like, whoa, watch out, watch out. And I know we're all bad at doing this, and especially as we learn to drive. Parents are a classic for this, and I mean, most of them are really good with helping out with, you know, driving tips and things like that, but some are really pushy, and they sort of make everything a little bit, they give that nervous edge when they're in the car with you. Try and avoid heavy backseat drivers and keep it to professionals if you can. So spend some time with instructors and make sure you know what you're supposed to be doing from them, and then you can kind of quell any commands from backseat drivers that might want to tell you this is what should be done, when you've heard it from the professionals first, you know? It's amazing how that one person that you know who's the ultimate backseat driver can change a really calm drive to something that's super tense, like a death grip steering wheel style drive. I think motorway driving tends to be a big thing when it comes to being nervous on the road as well, which is interesting because although the motorways are faster than normal roads, most normal roads, they are statistically safer. Just because everyone's traveling in the same direction, there's a divider between the two directions. There's very little speed difference normally, so everyone's around 70. You'll get some people going faster, some people going slower, but roughly it's about right. You've got more lanes to overtake, and really they're very, very simple. So if you're really scared of motorways and you haven't been on one yet after you've passed your test, you can sit in with instructors, as we've said a few times this video, for motorways, and you can get motorway tuition and things like that, which I'd really recommend. But quick tips for motorways: don't hog the middle lane, but do the speed limit if you can on motorways, because that 70 mile an hour is going to keep you up with everyone else, and there's going to be less speed difference between you and everyone else. It'll be easier to overtake and move into different lanes if you're keeping to similar speeds, and avoid hogging the middle lane if you can. Keep it over to the left and only go into the far right lanes to overtake. There is a vid I did on motorways, as it gets a little bit more in depth, but remember, it's safer than normal roads, and it is very, very simple once you've been on there one time and you've got that out of the way. So remember, keep it the practice, get professional help if you can, and really figure out what you're being scared of. So just remember that everyone's in the same boat. Remember to breathe, and if you're really struggling, go and seek help from a few professionals if you can. Driving really is something that's easy to learn and tricky to master, but you will get there if you keep it going and know you can do it. It really is something that you'll enjoy eventually, even if you don't to start with. I know things like roundabouts originally when I was learning I hated, and now I realise when I've gotten more into driving that they're actually way better than normal junctions, in my eyes anyway. But things like that you will eventually get better and even learn to enjoy, so keep at it. Stay safe and don't do anything I wouldn't do. Thank you for watching the video today, guys. Thank you so much for 20,000 subscribers. We're having a special for 20k coming up soon. It's possibly to do with go-karting, a big collaboration thing with a few YouTubers. But thank you again. I'll chat to you all in the next video. Peace.